Hey guys! Welcome to our mini-series on Mali.
Oh, woo, 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 woo!
My name's Deanna, and I'll be focusing on the geography, gender roles, and women's roles within society.
My name is Lydia, and I'll be focusing on the religion, language, and culture of Mali.
My name is Hannah, and I'll be looking into the government, slavery, and ancient Mali.
My name is Rachel, and I'm going to be looking at the colonization and decolonization of Mali, as well as giving our thesis statement.
First, I'll be focusing on the geography of Mali. Mali is the 8th largest country in Africa, and it is landlocked and touches borders with Mauritania, Algeria, Niger, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Guinea, and the Ivory Coast. The geographic regions of Mali can be broken down into 5 separate regions: the Sahara Desert in the north, flat farmlands in the south, hilly forests in the west, and then you also have your central savanna region as well as your Niger River Delta region. Mali is made up of majority flat land, and 65% of this flat land is made up of deserts or semi-deserts. Along the Niger River is where majority of Mali's population resides. The Niger River is the country's main waterway for transport and trade. They also depend heavily on it for food and water supply. It is the 3rd largest river in Africa. In contrast, the Sahara region is very dry and has little vegetation, while the Sahel region is made up of more fertile land, particularly for agriculture. Overall, Mali does face a few environmental issues due to its geographic region, such as drought, desertification, and deforestation. The climates in Mali have the ability to get up to 105 degrees during the daytime and drop as low as 64 degrees Fahrenheit during the night.
Thank you, Deanna, for that. I'm now going to be focusing on ancient Mali and slavery. Mali has a rich history of powerful empires, with one of the most popular being the Mali Empire under Sundiata in the 13th century. The Mali Empire had elaborate kingship systems made up of lineages and clans and organized around territorial lines into villages and districts. Slaves were the backbone of this society in Mali and succeeding empires, being instrumental in the cultivation of land, which allowed for stability and thus power within the empire. They served in the army and were frequently chosen for important administrative posts because they had no clan, meaning no allegiances, and thus could be trusted. They also played vital roles in the political courts. Slavery in ancient Mali contests the conventional thinking surrounding the term slavery. Slaves were more of a class within the society, and thus had the ability to rise above their status. A key example of this is Sakura, who seized power in Mali in the 13th century and rose to become a powerful ruler. The Songhai Empire, which followed the Mali Empire, was a chiefdom along the Niger River and thrived off the trade of salt and gold. During this period, Timbuktu gained its reputation in the Islamic world for its scholarly writings, and Ahmad Baba was a very notable writer in this time. Books were so popular in this region that, along with gold and salt, they were also widely imported. This thriving society, however, was terminated with the invasion by Moroccans in the 1590s, which led to the confiscation of books and the imprisonment of intellectuals. In addition to that, the slave trade and the demand for gold by the Europeans in the 15th and 16th century changed the dynamic of empires within Mali and slowly led to the fall of ancient Mali.
Thanks for that information, Hannah. So I'm now going to be talking about the colonization and decolonization of Mali. So, as we all know, probably, the French were the people who colonized Mali. However, French presence in Western Africa began as early as the 1400s. In 1492, a French boat landed in Ghana at Elmina Castle, which was made just 10 years prior. And at first it was for piracy reasons, stealing people's gold, stealing people's whatever they had on their boats, stealing the boats themselves, whatever it may be. But then as time went on, there was a rush to get in on the Portuguese trade game that was happening on the western coast of Africa, which was primarily involving ivory, gum, gold, and slaves mostly. The Portuguese began having more and more European competition, including the Dutch, the French, Germans, etc., in trying to get hold of those territories. But there was an especially strong rivalry between France and Britain. They were trying to lock down those territories on the western coast of Africa, hoping to move inland with time. So the French took the approach of offering protection to various leaders and various countries, saying that they would protect them in exchange for being able to occupy their countries. This included Dahomey, Guinea, the Ivory Coast, and eventually Mali. In the early 1880s, the French then started to move their colonization inland, and that's when they began reaching Mali, areas of Niger, and northern Algeria. So all of these colonized territories made up the Federation of French West Africa. So Mali specifically was colonized in 1892. But despite the powerful hand of the French in West Africa at the time, there was still very active opposition to the French rule in Mali. So most of Mali was under the strict French rule by 1905, and this colonization of Mali by the French impacted the Malian language, culture, education, and economy in the years to come. So the Mali Federation gained independence in 1960. The Mali Federation was made up of Mali as well as Senegal, an area of Senegal. So they gained their independence from the French in 1960, and they appointed Modibo Keïta as their first president, and he served for 8 years. So although Mali did gain independence from France, there's still a large French presence in the country, along with the French footprint, which includes their language and education system.
Thank you for that, Rachel. Picking up from where you left off on Mali's independence in the 1960s, in 1991, however, Mali became democratic, kind of losing the additional section of Senegal and becoming a country on its own. In 1992, Mali adapted its constitution, and for the most part, Mali looked like it was going to be a very peaceful country and was seen as the replica of peace across the continent. But in 2012, however, a military coup d'etat unfolded in the south, and there was an occupation by a coalition of Turga and Islamist extremist groups in the north. So this overall positive image of Mali being peaceful survived despite ongoing Turga rebellions and the growing insecurity in the north of Mali, opposition to the government, and a mounting dissatisfaction with the limited results that independence and democracy had given Mali since the 1990s. But no one could really foresee how terrible March 2012 was going to be, as the country spiraled into violence, widespread insecurity, and there was the massive displacement of thousands of people fleeing to the south and sometimes even neighboring countries. Although the French led a military operation that has since liberated the north of Mali from Turga Islamist occupation, the new democratic elections were carried out in the summer of 2013. Mali has still not been able to reclaim the name of a peaceful country.
Alright, so tying back into the French colonization, the official language of Mali is French, though this is spoken as a second language and reserved for only formal education, the media, and administration. Bambara, the national language as well as a common language in Mali, is spoken by 80% of the population, but due to this language being used by French officials and spreading it to the Mali people, though only 30% of the country have it as their mother tongue. Culture-wise, many cultures within ancient Mali used a caste system in which the highest hierarchy were traditionally farmers and fishermen and other people with these occupations. And these occupations were passed down through families, therefore keeping the caste system alive. The lowest hierarchy were made up of people whose ancestors were enslaved by other Africans during the tribal war. Mali has a large focus on oral traditions, with all of their oral traditions being varied in songs, poems, and epic poetry and proverbs, with a majority of them being focused on the Epic of Sundayada. The oral traditions have also influenced their music, with the traditional storytellers called griots, performing at weddings and special events. Moving into religion, the religion of Islam plays a large part in Mali. It was first introduced in the 9th century when Berber and Tuareg merchants brought it southwards into West Africa, and the religion was also spread with the nomadic Fula people, who were the first and most reverent believers in the religion. The French colonization also helped keep the Islamic religion alive in Mali, with the colonization administrators using and relying heavily on Islamic representatives to keep control over the local populations, and also aiding in the establishment of Islamic tribunals in Mali. In present day, Mali is now a secular country, though Islam has a strong and more prominent grip on the country.
Thank you, Lydia. So, in addition to the culture and traditions that Lydia just discussed, I'll also focus on the gender roles and women's roles within Mali society. So, at a young age in Mali, gender roles are instilled into the lives of children through the acts of circumcision. Circumcision is a part of the Malian culture as a puberty ritual. While boys are in the healing process of circumcision, they are informed of and taught their roles within society, as well as learning how they are different from and superior to the women within the Malian society. Majority of tribes in Mali believe that males make majority of household decisions as well as societal decisions within the society. They make decisions in regards to marriage, expenditure, and travel, and they are also believed to be responsible for the earning of household incomes for the families. The act of primogeniture is also practiced within Mali, and this primogeniture act is the idea that if anything were to happen to the father, who is at the time the head of the household, the eldest son within the family should take his throne over the family. Overall, men are thought to hold majority of power within the Malian society. Even when it comes to marriage, men are seen as being given a higher in a higher role in society due to being married, while women are only seen as the property to their husbands. For example, the Bambara people, which is an ethnic group within Mali, believes that women are incapable of owning land within society. The only way that women are allowed to possess land is if they are given permission by the man of their household. The lives of women within Mali society can be broken down into 3 different time generations. So you have your premenopausal women, your childbearing women, and your postmenopausal women. The premenopausal and postmenopausal women are given more freedom and autonomy than the childbearing women. During your premenopausal years, these women are allowed to go out and find work on their own, while during postmenopausal years, women are allowed to find their own jobs, they're allowed to build their own brands and their own companies. Typically, this does not occur because the literacy rate for women in Mali society is drastically lower than the literacy rate for men in Mali society. Women in the childbearing years in Mali society are thought to be confined to the home. They are supposed to take on traditional household duties such as cooking, cleaning, raising children, and caring for their elderly family members. So Mali has not made much progress in the rights of women and roles of women within their society. In 2012, a family code was supposed to be passed, and this code would give women more right and more autonomy within society. Ideally, it would also increase the minimum marriage age for women within society, as well as remove the idea that women are supposed to be submissive and obedient to their husbands. Unfortunately, due to the political crisis that was going on during 2012 when this family code was supposed to be passed, the law was never passed.
And finally, our thesis is that the history of Mali has been impacted by political unrest due to violence, economic issues, poor governance, dependence on official development assistance, and inadequacy within women's health care. In the following videos, we'll be unpacking this thesis.
Thank you.
Thank you.